Welcome back to the Maelstrom, ladies and gentlemen. We have another Warhammer 40k battle report for you today. 2,000 points. We'll be playing Thousand Suns versus Necrons, and we will be switching armies today. Josh will control my Necrons, and I will have command of the Thousand Suns. So it is the battle for the Automata. As we continue in the Ascension battle, we're going to be playing Spearhead Assault. The Necrons will be on this side of the table. Thousand Suns opposite them. We will be seeking after 3 objectives. One here, one in the center of the table, and another here. We will be right back with the armies.
Okay, so the Necrons will be organized into a battalion. We'll be playing Nefarious Dynasty today. The Warlord is a Catacomb Command Barge with a Staff of Light and a Gauss Cannon. My second HQ is a Cryptek with a Staff of Light. Then in the troops, I have 3 squads of 10 warriors and 2 squads of 10 immortals. For elites, I have a Shard of the Nightbringer and 2 Triarch Stalkers with Heat Rays. Then for my fast attack, I have a squad of 3 destroyers and a squad of 5 Tomb Blades with shield vanes. And then for my heavy supports, I have a squad of 3 heavy destroyers.
I will be standing behind the Thousand Suns today. We will also be in a battalion as the Necrons before us. We have 2 HQs. We have a pair of Exalted Sorcerers. The one on the left is our Warlord, and he's carrying the helm of the Third Eye. In our troop slots, we have 4 squads of 10 Rubric Marines. They have their Inferno Bolters and their Sorcerer, no other war gear. We also have 2 squads of Cultists, one 11 strong and 1 10 strong, along with the sea of rubrics to try to get some of our legwork done here. We also have 2 squads of Spawn, 3 strong each, to help us with some shock attack stuff. And then in the back, we have our one and only elite choice, a unit of 6 Scarab Occult Terminators with a Hellfire Missile Rack. Finishing the list off, 2 heavy supports. We have individual Predator Annihilators with las cannon sponsions. You have seen the armies, and you have seen the table. We will be back as we get stuck into the Maelstrom. Deployment is complete. The armies are squared up and ready to get underway. Thousand Suns did finish first. We went for a complete commitment to the battlefield, nothing in reserve. We have the rubrics arrayed along the front with predators in the back, sorcerers and terminators bulking up the center there. Then we have 3 spawn here, and the rest of the spawn and all of the cultists on the far flank. Josh, tell us about these Necrons.
Eerily similar deployment. They're all set up on the front line with all of my infantry, backed up with the Triarch Stalkers to make everybody hit a little better. Catacomb Command Barge set up in the middle so that we can capitalize on his Immortal Pride Warlord trait in case of overwhelming casualties in the initial exchange. On the flank, hidden from the long-range fire as much as possible, is the 5 bikes, and using the Nefarious Dynasty special stratagem, we are deep striking both the heavy destroyers and the destroyers.
Alright, so deployment is complete. Thousand Suns will get +1 to their roll. With a 5, they're looking at a 6. Let's see if the Necrons can match it here. 4 will not do it. So Thousand Suns will have the first turn. We will be back as the initial engagement begins. Thousand Suns have finished their first turn. There will be no assault phase. Everything made a general advance, and then we started smiting like mad trying to get rid of some of these Necrons, followed by a fusillade of fire across the front here. On the flank, we moved these things up with advance runs to try to get them towards that objective as quickly as possible. In the center, we wreaked absolute carnage on the warriors and were able to bring 20 of them down. The first 2 squads were completely annihilated, and the Immortals lost 5 guys.
Squad.
Yep, 5 and 1 from the other. So 5 from the squad on the left and 1 from the squad on the right. Pretty brutal little bit of hits there. This Stalker was the target of one of the Predators, but he made his 6+ save against the 1 wound that worked against him. The other Predator fired on the Immortals and was able to bring a pair of them down. So pretty good initial shooting. First blood claimed by the Thousand Suns. The Necron response is coming up next. We will be back for that. Necrons, turn 1.
After quite a drubbing, the Necrons advanced, closed their ranks up to seal the holes from the missing warrior squads. We moved our Tomb Blades up into high advantage in cover and brought in both of our deep striking elements inside of our deployment zone because we desperately needed the firepower. We turned all of those guns down on the front rank of rubrics and wiped them out. Managed to kill the assistant HQ and knock 3 wounds out of the warlord with the combined might of the shooting phase. The Catan also killed 2 rubrics with one of his powers and wounded a terminator in the process. The heavy destroyers fired down on the lone predator back there by itself and knocked 6 wounds out of it.
Yeah, so boneheaded decision there from me to put my sorcerers that far forward, but Thousand Sons are still fairly intact. Still got plenty of rubrics, so we're going to advance, trade blows again, and see where we're standing as turn 2 is reaching its middle point. Thousand Sons turn 2 is ready for the assault phase. We got some significant distance charges we're going to try to make. We started with an advance across the front, tried to position to protect our sorcerer just a little bit. We were able to get warp time off here. We paid a point for a chaos familiar to switch that power up for him, and then used Kabbalistic focus to make sure he got that off. He moved them forward. We then threw a bunch of smites between that and a couple of shots that didn't really have range to anything else. We were able to down 3 of the 5 bikes. This squad of rubrics, however, rolled fantastically and obliterated all but 2 of the immortals down here. The last 2 were cut down by their counterparts who are moving to the flank. In the middle, the Terminators took the warp time. They then fired what guns could see to the immortals along with this squad. These guys failed miserably. They brought 1 immortal down. But these guys took Vets of the Long War. They fired their Hellfire rack up to the heavy destroyers. And the rest of their bolters around on the ground. Their last bolter shots that couldn't see anything else were able to down 1 bike. They were able to put 2 wounds in one of the heavy destroyers. The other was cut down by both las cannon predators together. And then all of their fire left 1 immortal in the back. So we got a couple of charges we're going to attempt here against the warriors up front, and then we will be back. The Thousand Sons have finished up their assault phase. They made their charges with the Spawn, the Terminators, and the Rubrics, and clobbered the Immortals up front. They then proceeded to lock up the last Immortal, the Cryptek, and the Stalker. The Stalker was able to crush one of the Spawn in response, but the other guys whiffed and were unable to do any damage. So that pushes the Thousand Sons into their deployment zone. Lots of heavy hitters remaining, though. We're going to see what kind of damage they can do, and then we will be back. All right, Necrons, turn 2.
So, the combat that caught the Cryptek and the Lone Immortal and the Triarch Stalker, we managed to get 2 more Immortals back, and we removed those 3. We fell back from combat and centered up all of our firepower to punch out the Terminator squad before they could do any more damage to us in combat. And then the bikes that were on the gantry-way jumped out and assassinated the Warlord using the gap that the charging Terminators left in the Thousand Sons line. So we did score Warlord. At least he's out of the way. That should drastically reduce the incoming psychic powers in the coming turn. And we are set up, hopefully, to lock down the majority of his outgoing firepower for the turn into close combats that we can then jump out of and capitalize on.
Yep. So going into the assault phase, and then we will be back. All right, Necrons have finished up their assault phase.
So the heavy destroyers charged the squad of Spawn in an effort to alleviate some of the pressure off of the Immortals and the Triarch Stalker back there that we really need to be shooting in the coming turns. Did lose 1 heavy destroyer to the Spawn, and we wounded 1, but worth it. They're not taking a morale check this turn, and they can't charge me in the next turn, so hopefully we can survive that melee through his turn and be able to jump out and still put the las cannon beams down on something important. The Triarch Stalker and the Catacomb Command Barge charged into the Rubric squad that were behind the dead Necrons, and we managed to kill 2 Rubrics, right? 2 Rubrics?
Yep, 2.
And then lost 6 7 of our 8 wounds out of the Catacomb Command Barge for our troubles. But, yeah, at least he's still standing there and he's holding an objective. So, we're not going home empty-handed at least. We did score a point there. The remaining charges down here, the 3 bikes and the Catan charged in and knocked down 4 rubrics. And we lost 1 wound out of the Catan.
Yeah, that was on Overwatch.
Yep.
Nothing in melee, though.
That pretty much wraps it. We're just kind of hoping that we've tied up enough shooting that he can't cripple us again before we can get back out.
Yep. All right. Going into Thousand Suns, we will be back once they have wrapped up their shooting. The Thousand Suns have finished their turn up to the assault phase. We made an advance over here to start putting some autogun fire down range along with moving our spawn forward to try to help their buddy go ahead and try to get rid of these heavy destroyers. We also used our psychic powers to smite against this warlord and do him 1 more wound. Would have killed him, but we did forget about quantum shielding. He did bounce 1 of those 4 staff hits and bring the dice back a little bit to odds in that melee there. So that left him with 3 wounds after that smite hit him. Over here we did smite twice against the Catan along with shooting him with the 1 squad that was free, leaving him at 4 wounds. We also fired the Predators and they continued their bout of failure. Both of them managed to kill 1 destroyer. Do not fill those D6 weapons. I don't know about you guys out there in the audience, but they seem to do that quite a bit. But that's got us up to the assault phase. We're going to try to make some charges here and lock a few things up, and we will be back once that's complete. The Thousand Suns have finished their turn, made a couple of assaults. We made it into the surviving heavy destroyer with the last of the spawn, cut it down, and advanced to lock up the stalker. He responded by punching 1 of the spawn down to 1 wound. Over here we were able to do a couple more wounds to the overlord, or maybe just 1. He's got 2 left, and him and the stalker paired to kill 4 of the rubrics. Down here, charged the Catan to no effect whatsoever. But he was able to crush 3 back. So we do have a couple of morale checks. The squad that lost 3 down there against the Catan, they are good to go. And the squad here who lost 4 for the turn, and 8, they're good to go as well. All right, so that is it for the Thousand Suns. The Necrons will be coming back next.
Alright, so we're through the shooting phase and about to make our assaults. We fell back with the Catacomb Command Barge so that we could shoot at the surviving rubrics with the rest of the army, and so that the Catacomb Command Barge could add its weight of fire against the crippled squad of spawn. Between the Command Barge and the destroyers, we wiped the spawn out. And then he fired his solar staff combined with the immortals to knock 4 or 5 of the cultists down in the first squad. The Triarch Stalker fired and killed 4 from the other squad. The Catan cast Time's Arrow and knocked 1 of the rubrics down in the unengaged squad. And the bikes turned down and solo killed every single one of the rubrics, like the worst rolling we've had in a game with some pretty bad rolls in it. We're going to launch some assaults and see what we can come out with in close combat.
Necrons have finished their assault phase up.
So we charged the Stalker in on the cultist and killed 1 guy out of 1 squad. The combat down here, the spawn managed to knock 6 wounds out, but we did kill the wounded spawn in return. And the Catan down here knocked 2 more rubrics down, and he's still batting 1,000 on his close combat saves. He saved 2 wounds, 1 from the dinks and 1 from the squad sergeant.
All right, so I got a couple of morale checks to make here. This squad lost 5 of their cultists. 6, 7, that'll get 1 or 2. And then over here we lost 4 from this squad. A 1, they will be good. All right, so we are going into Thousand Suns. We will be back when they have finished their shooting. For the Thousand Suns turn, we went ahead and rolled everything together since they are getting pretty light on guys at this point. We didn't have a lot of shooting. We moved the 3 Marines up here to try to fight the battle barge. And then we fired our las cannon predators to the destroyers. Once again, failed miserably. We were able to bring one down. They did roll okay this time, but the destroyers kind of picked it up. Did 2 wounds to him with the second one, and he rolled 2 5s. So he was not ready to go just yet. Over here, we were able to kill the Catan, though it did cost us 3 more Marines. We cast Smite against him, which did not go off. But the sorcerer was able to kill him with his staff in close combat. The overlord we were able to smite and wound with Inferno Bolter, and charged and could not get anything done in close combat. So unfortunately the lord is still here with 1 wound, which will be 2, and is probably going to seal the game up on points, since that'll be the 3rd turn for his ascension there. But we will see how things go. The Thousand Sons did pick 2 more points up, so right now it is 7-4. That is about it for the turn. We also were able to bring this guy down to 2 wounds with our attacks there. So that is it for the Suns Necron response. Coming up next. Alright, Necrons have finished their turn up.
We went ahead and rolled everything into one video where the combats were getting kind of sparse and there weren't a lot of targets. We combined all of our Gauss Cannon fire to remove the last of the spawn that were in the rocks after we fell back with the Triarch Stalker. And then the Resurgent Immortals that finally came back removed all but 1 of the cultists in the unengaged squad, and the destroyers, after knocking the spawn down, charged in and killed the last member. The Triarch Stalker that was locked with the other squad killed 2, and the last guy rolled terribly and failed his morale check. Down here in the center, the bikes killed the last of the rubrics that were on this objective, and the Lord with his solar staff killed the rubrics that had been assaulting him in combat after he fell back.
Alright, so the Necrons have emerged victorious at that point. They are up by 1 point, and there is no way these Predators are going to have any kind of impact on the game. Judging by their ability to shoot, so far they're not even capable of giving me a spot kill. So the Suns are going to go ahead and tap out there. What remains of them, their tanks are going to put it in reverse and head for the hills. That will be a Necron victory, and more importantly, a massive losing snap that is broken by Josh this evening. So good to see that he's back on top of things. Nowhere to go but up from here. So that will be Necron's victory. We will have after-action reviews and army lists at the blog as always. Be sure to give us a like on Facebook. That's the best place to see our new content as it comes out. And a subscription on YouTube means everything to us, guys. We appreciate all of you who have done that already. As always, thank you for spending time with us today at the Maelstrom.